How's it going? David Taub here. I hope all's going well, and I hope your guitar and musical journeys are going famously. Today I have for you my 5 top tips for melodic soloing. Now we're going to be in standard A440 tuning for this whole series of lessons, and the jam track that we're using throughout this series of lessons is in the key of F sharp minor. Now it's in 6/8 time. It's a fun track, and I always like to give you the chords because, you know, it's so important for any kind of soloing, including melodic soloing, that you know the chords to which you're soloing over. The key is only part of it. You gotta know the chords because it's the chords that give the full roadmap to all of the soloing and improvisational avenues. And if you want a killer practice tool, I'll tell you what, click on that link in the YouTube description box below. I'll send you my jam track coach for free. It's 6 killer sounding jam tracks, but I pair it with 2 ebooks. And in one ebook, I talk about each track, the chords, different scales that relate to those chords and why they work, and modes and different soloing strategies. It's a really cool, fun, useful practice tool, and I'll send it to you for free. My jam track coach, just click on that link below. And it's really all about the sounds we're creating, right? And the nuance that we're putting on our playing in this melodic style. And it's not just one thing, you know, it's a combination of all of these things together. I mean, it's really never ever one thing. And I'm sure like you're just totally fed up with, as well as I am, like just constantly being bombarded by these Facebook ads and social media ads. Do this one thing and it will totally transform your playing. Do this one thing and you'll lose 15 pounds of fat and gain 15 pounds of muscle, right? Do this one thing and you'll be independently wealthy the rest of your life. You know, stuff like that is just clickbait where they're trying to get you to sign up to their programs or whatnot. It's never just one thing. If you're trying to lose weight and gain muscle, it's a lot of things you have to do, right? It's diet, it's eating the proper amount of, you know, those macronutrients, the combinations of the proteins with the fats and the carbohydrates. How much rest are you getting? And then exercise. Am I doing the cardio, the resistance training, weight training, right? Which exercises, how many, you know, how many sets, how many reps? It's a lot of different things, right? And same thing with this style of guitar. It's not just one, it's never just one thing. The first one is expressive string bending and vibrato. So important, right? String bending is like one of the most emotive things you could do on the guitar, and you really want to get good at it. And you want to pull out all the stops and work on all your string bending. I'm talking about half step bends, whole step bends, minor third bends, which is a step and a half, bend and release, right? Quick bends, fast bends, bend and vibrato, holding out bends, the drawn out bends, right? Really fast bends. There's so much that you could do with string bending, and you really want to get good at bending in pitch and bending to a target note. Number 2, having a lyrical quality to some of your guitar lines, kind of like some vocal ideas on guitar, having this singing quality to some of your guitar lines. You don't have to do it to everyone, but you want to have that in there, right? And if you listen to some of the great melodic players, you know, someone like David Gilmour from Pink Floyd, right? Their guitar solos, they're almost singable, right? Third would be your note choice, and especially your landing notes and your resolution notes. You know, that's why it's so important to know the chord changes, right? Because we're going to be landing on certain chord tones, those notes that make up those chords. You can make big solo statements by knowing the chords and knowing, you know, those notes, and your timing also, I should have mentioned too. Timing landing notes to land on certain chords, and using the triads, you know, the roots, the thirds, the flat thirds if it's minor, the fifths, you know, flat sevens, using those strong landing tones, and knowing them in each chord. It's so critical because that's really going to make your solos pop. As well as, you know, sometimes you might not want to land on those strong notes. You might want to kind of suspend it a little bit and make the listener wait a little bit to get that payoff of going back to the root note, or to have that resolution, right? Make them wait a little bit and use some of the other notes in the scale. So knowing that, having the knowledge of what notes you like over certain chords, right? And studying the relationship between chords and scales and knowing those notes. It's a big deal. And if you got a second, please subscribe to the channel. You know, subscribing to the channel, that really helps us to keep bringing the content, as well as then you'll be notified when I have new lessons posted. Leave a comment below. Let me know how you like this lesson, what lessons you'd like to see coming up. And if you like the video, please click the like button, give it a thumbs up, share it, and thank you so much for your support. Fourth thing would be repetition in your melodic soloing. You know, finding a motif that you like, a little idea, and then repeating it throughout the solo, and then maybe changing it a little bit, maybe changing the end notes up a little bit. This is really, really important for melodic soloing because it gets a theme in the listener's brains, right? And it's kind of like almost like a chorus to a song, right? What are they always saying? You know, get to the chorus, get to that hook, because people remember that repeated kind of catchiness, right? Same thing with the melodic soloing. And then the fifth thing I think for melodic soloing, a key is, you know, the use of nuance and the use of dynamics and separating your phrases. So a lot of this is about phrasing, separating your phrasing between like really fast lines and slower lines, and leaving lots of space, and then maybe building up, and then, you know, maybe playing some little licks quieter and then some louder, and you're kind of building this story within your solo, and you're using these dynamics. That use of nuance is really, really important. Holding your notes out, and use of vibrato, and the dynamics as you're building your lead lines, and you're kind of telling a story within the song, story within a story, so to speak. So let's look at the expressive and emotive string bending, and let me give you some thoughts on that. Remember, we're in the key of F sharp minor in this jam track. F sharp natural minor works really well over all the chords. F sharp Aeolian mode. I'll just use one scale here just as an example. So I'm on the 9th fret here on our F sharp note, and we'll use F sharp natural minor. The scale looks like this. So one of the things in melodic soloing that we use a lot is half-step bends. Half-step bends are just have that melodic quality to them, and you need to be using, for the most part, diatonic scales. Like in minor, if you're just using minor pentatonic, there's no half steps in that scale, right? It's all whole steps, 2 frets or minor third, 3 frets apart, all the notes. So the 7-note scale's really good because you have that 2 extra notes in there that give you the half steps that you need. So here we're talking about on the B string, 9 and 10th fret, and on the high E string we'll use that 9th and 10th fret also. So multiple half step bends in a row are always really nice. I'm taking with my first finger and I'm on that G sharp note, which is a nice note in the scale. That's the 9th. That 9th has a lot of drama in it, and I use that a lot in my melodic soloing. So I'm just pushing up. Doesn't have to go up a lot. Normally you want to bend with multiple fingers and as many fingers as possible because it's more strength. But in this particular instance, you could do half steps with one finger. And that time, see, it's a little different. So I kind of bend up and quickly release it back down. It sounds very different than if I do it fast. So there's a lot you could do just with that bend. That's another really cool technique, is just that one fast half step bend. Here I'm doing it on a C sharp note and getting to my F sharp note, but you can do it here. Another thing is the drawn out bend I use a lot. Right? I have the delay off of the guitar just for instructional purposes, but if you hold that bend and just let it sing, right? And add that vibrato, really melodic stuff. Resolve to our root note. Right? All on the half steps. Then you have those fast bends that you could do on the lower strings. Always sound kind of cool. You just kind of pull it down and release it really quick. You hear guys doing that all the time, especially if you move it across the fretboard. Fast bend. So here's a few whole step bends I really like in the scale. If you're on the B string and you bend that 12th fret, you're bending the B up to the C sharp, and that's a great bend because that C sharp is the 5th in the scale, and that's a strong note. You got to get that up a whole step. See, I'm bending and matching that pitch of C sharp one whole step away. And notice I'm bending with 4 fingers. The more fingers you could bend with, the better. More strength, more accuracy. And then I put some vibrato at the end often at the bends, especially when you're holding them. That's a little bit harder technique, but you got to practice bending it up, holding it, and then shaking the note, shaking your hand, and you get that bend and vibrato. Another cool bend would be something like this. Okay, so what I did there, I bend up a whole step, but I quickly killed the note. Bend and kill. Then I release it and strike the note unbent. And I add that vibrato. That's so important too, that really sweet sounding vibrato. You want to get that and really work on that trademark kind of vibrato, which is very you, right? Work on your own style of vibrato. But that bend and kill, strike the note again. Release to our root note. Another cool bend technique I like is the quick bend, followed by a bend and release. So I'm bending the note to pitch up a whole step, and then when I let it down, you hear the note coming down. Right? So a lot of times I'll bend first, and then bend and release. And another little nuance thing, a lot of times I rake, probably hearing that, I rake into a lot of my notes and a lot of my bends where I'm just kind of, I have my hand flat on the strings by the bridge, and I get that sound from raking into the notes. So there I did a rake, pull off, bend, slide, but when I slid, I did a quick bend and descended down to my root note F sharp. Here's a lick where I get to a bend and then hold it and then bend it multiple times. Bending, release, bend, release, bend, release, but I only pick it once. See how that really lends into this style. Here's another bend I like, bending to our root note. So this time on the high E string, we're going to bend at the 12th fret. And I'm bending that E up to the F sharp. So there, I raked into it. And I just played right up the scale. There I'm doing a little trick where I'm kind of catching the B string. As I have this bent on the high E, I catch the B string under the tip of my pinky finger, and I get that overtone. I'm not hitting both strings. It's just something you just got to kind of feel and catch one string under your finger as it's bent, and then you hit both, and you can kind of get the cool sound. So whole step bend on that B string, whole step bend on that high E. That nuance you're putting almost on every note. Bend, vibrato, slide, pull off, hammer on. Those little things, the string rake. Kind of goes into what I was saying before, right? It's not just one thing. You're doing a multitude of things and adding all this nuance in this real melodic style. All right, I think I'll let that marinate with you a little bit. So work on your expressive string bending and all the different types of bending, right? You know the 5 things, that's one of them. Really drill down on these things and it'll really make a difference in your playing. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That really helps us to keep bringing the content, as well as then you'll be notified when I have new lessons posted. And get my free jam track coach. Click on that link in the YouTube description box and I'll send it to you for free. 6 killer jam tracks and 2 ebooks. Fun practice tool. And if you want to hear some of these concepts within songs, I recently dropped a new record with my original band, Mind Cell. We're based out of San Diego, California. It's a slammin' record. I think it's some of the best music I've ever written. It's streaming on all the platforms. I'll put links to that also in the YouTube description box. I'd love for you to hear it. So check it out. And if you have any questions on the songs or the gear I'm using or the studio recording techniques, drop me a line. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for checking out this lesson. Keep up all that hard work on those guitars. Keep having fun with them. And remember, your guitar playing is an evolution. So enjoy the journey. Take care, rock on. I'll see you in the next lesson.